Okay, so this is going to be the first of very few slash FFs in 2021, probably.
It's
Because
weekly, baby. It's coming weekly.
because we're only doing this when there's like interesting stuff to talk about. So I want to start by saying, so initially I told Will. So okay, so first of all, it's me, Jack, Michael, and Will again. If you don't know who we are, you probably don't. If you do, it's because you're one of our friends listening to us, or one of ourselves listening to this at like 3 a.m. reminiscing in like 10 years from now when we're old as fuck. But anyways, I originally messaged Will during like winter break, between seasons. I was saying like we should do an in depth, like a very in depth, like rate all the players, like do the point stuff that we did like that one time. And I realized that would be very disingenuous because there's so many new players to the league that I legitimately it would be impossible to do that for me, at least for me, because I've not watched that much, of a lot of these players. And I realized, okay, it's better if we just do like some more general stuff rather than going, point by point. And I would reserve that once we see some of these players play until between spring and summer split, even though there's technically not two splits anymore, but between spring and summer. So yeah, so we're gonna go to the tier lists, I suppose. I mean, not exactly tier lists, but like I don't know,
Our power rankings.
power rankings. The order we think they're finished. So these lists are based on what we think will the standings will be. So this is a standing list, I guess. Is the standings at the end of spring regular season? Um, yeah, and the one thing is I was gonna say is that we're not gonna jump too in depth with probably some of the, at least for me personally, I don't have too much to speak on to some of the lower ranked teams, but definitely I do have some thoughts on a lot of the teams people have been speaking a lot about, particularly C9 with perks, or like the fact that 100 Thieves is just Golden Guardians from last year. One big thing is that I had noticed that there's kind of this with everyone's power rankings, over the course of the last few weeks, everyone's kind of had this bottom three and top two situation going on. Top two being TL and C9. You're basically flipping one of those two for the winner. And the bottom three, you're going with the three development teams, right? It's IMT, GG, and Dig. So, and then the middle somewhere is, generally TSM 100 Thieves, FlyQuest, EG, CLG. People generally put TSM 100 Thieves at like the top of that like kind of 5-team split, and EG, CLG is usually at the closer to lower on that 5-team split. I generally haven't seen too much like, that's pretty reasonable, right, guys? Like that kind of split is like what you've seen from most people when they talk about these teams.
Yeah, generally
Hmm.
it's usually the top two, and then it's split into who's fighting third and fourth. Between usually it's like 100 Thieves, TSM, and then it's usually like the FlyQuests and the EGs around like the 5-6, and then they just go, these guys aren't making playoffs. Then it's just like IMT and GG and Dig.
Yeah, that was kind of my thought process too. And I kind of agree with a lot of people saying like how there's a very big different discrepancy in like the top tier teams, like just skill floor and skill ceiling versus like the bottom tier teams.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, we can rush through the bottom, I guess, because it's the least interesting, and I don't have many talking points on it, or pretty much at all. Right? It's for me, the bottom three was GG, IMT, Dig, right, and the ordering. Was mostly for me was thinking that Golden Guardians, this is completely new roster. I have almost no idea, anything about a lot of these players, right? Niles, Iconic, Blaze Olive, Newbie. I know jack shit, right, about these guys. The only one I know is Stixay. I have a lot of faith in Anero as a coach, right, based on what he did with GGS. But I think, GGS definitely struck gold in some of their allocations. And I think that their concept of building this roster was to use Stixay as like the veteran to glue them together. I think it's a bit strange to use an 80 carry as like the stabilizing piece. Generally they're not going to be able to focus on that as much. But yeah, I just, for me, that's kind of why I had them at 10th. And then with
Uh,
the other teams, so IMT, again, I don't know much about Revenge, but I do know out of a lot of the prospects for Academy, he was one of the lower end ones people didn't have expect as much. I think Xerxes did have an off year last year. I don't think he's bad. I think Insanity's okay. My big question mark for this team is if Raze is good, I think they'll perform better. If not, I think they'll be kind of stuck because they won't have great ways to play through carries. And lastly, Dignitas. I actually really do like Neo. He was Asta on Optic Academy for a while. I think he was actually pretty strong as a player. And they have Aframu. So I think that bot lane out of the bottom three is actually could be one of the better bot lanes. So yeah, that's how I ranked my bottom three. And what about you guys?
For me, my bottom three is GG at 10th, Dignitas 9th, Immortals 8th. I was really debating putting Dignitas 10th. Because I think Dardoch just
You guys all hate Dardoch.
Look, I was on a Dardoch train when he was on TSM, right?
Because you drank the Kool-Aid.
I drank the Kool-Aid real hard.
The DD Kool-Aid.
But just watching the past splits and seeing Dardoch not be as effective, even like, yes, you can argue like, oh, he's a good jungler with like really bad pieces around him, but even then individually, I didn't think he looked as good as he used to be or as he could be. However, I think the power of, as you said, like with Afro being their bot lane puts them above GG for me. And then Immortals, I'm kind of ride or dying on Xerxes, being AC, just keeping them in the 8th slot. I think Xerxes could lead that group to a solid, quote unquote, 8th place for them.
Okay. And Will, what about you?
Mr. Armstrong.
William? Are your parents?
Sorry, I had some anger for a second.
Okay.
Yeah. So ranking the bottom teams, I see everyone putting GG at the bottom, and I understand why they're putting GG at the bottom. But let's be frank here, boys. Everyone on Dig is is besides Fate God, it has shown to be trash. Every player on this Afro washed, Neo trash. Wasn't even a top 380 carry in Academy this past year. Wasn't even top 580 carry in Academy this past year. Sure, he had his little stint on Optic, but that was years ago. Dardoch, they're keeping him for the name value. Saligo, that dude lost lane every game he played on 100 Thieves. Fake God's the only hope for this team. I'm putting him below. I'm putting my faith in GG to just somehow put it together and sneak it. All they have to do is beat Dig realistically, right? All they have to do is beat Dig, and I think they can do it. So GG probably could be pretty bad, but I'm putting them over Dig because I think Dig's trash and their org's trash.
See, I think your logic makes a lot of sense if you consider that they're going to have similar match scores to everyone else, but then face each other. But I do think that Dig has a better chance of upsetting other teams than GG or Immortals do.
I think they might, but I think GG. I think Dig with players like Fake God. When I saw Fake God in Saligo and LCS, all I saw was two guys that were scared to mess up, and they just played scared. They played passive, and they played not to lose. And I think these GG boys, they're gonna come in. They're probably gonna hit some games horrifically. They're probably gonna get railed, but I think they're gonna come in less scared than these guys on Dig. I think Dig's just gonna be a team that's gonna be scared to lose, and it's gonna be they're hoping the Daddy Afro can save them, but it's not happening this year.
Okay.
Immortals. God, their top lane is just so raw.
Why'd you put Immortals at 8? Yeah, wait.
Yeah.
Well, because I think their talent level is just better than both these two teams, at least currently. I think in the future, Immortals will probably be worse. Just because they didn't decide just to go build. They brought in a paycheck stealer in coach and jungle. They
wow. That's some heavy accusations. Well,
the bot lane is the only hope. Destiny, who knows how bad he was.
He was really bad.
He looked pretty bad.
He was like, who was that player on 100 Thieves who played with Cody?
Poom.
No, not Poom. The one who got kicked.
Stunt.
Yeah.
Stunt.
Yeah. Destiny was Stunt, but for OG.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I just think Immortals just has a better chance. I think there's a game that Xerxes plays Karthus and Insanity plays Victor and they just win or some shit.
Possible.
That's all I'm thinking. You want to go to the next league? Because
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
where my spice is, baby.
Yeah,
That's the
okay.
spice.
Sure. I mean, you sound excited, so why don't you, head us off? Go top to bottom, or bottom to top. EG first. What's going on here?
EG's going. Everyone's overrating EG. Everyone's putting him at 5. This team is. I do like their coach. They have a very good coach, and that's the part that does scare me. This is where I will lose all my points.
Peter
I'm
Dunn.
pretty sure.
Are you scared of
Because
Peter Dunn
I
that
think
much?
Peter Dunn is a really good coach, but
Yeah.
I think this team makes no sense to me, right? You have Impact. He's known for being like the stable top, but he doesn't have Doublelift in the bot lane. He's got Deathly. This is a Doublelift. But the
Fucking
part that
Deathly,
that
man.
is Pog, I think Ignar is really good. I think if Ignar was on another team, I would have been like, dude, that team's gonna be really good. I think Ignar is like Core JJ Jr. and he gets picked way more.
I think
But,
he's more like Kevin Senior, but that's.
I think I think Ignar's pretty good, but I think where's the carry threat's got to come from Jizuke, right? Or it's got to be Svenskeren playing Graves. I think this team's getting super overrated. I think they have less of a ceiling than the teams I put above them.
Will, I believed everything you said until I saw the
Ceiling.
Peter Dunn interview that Travis did. And Peter Dunn said that he's going to make sure this team either ints or wins, pretty much. And he said they're going to use Impact as a carry threat this year. They're not just going to let him sit weak side. So I drank the Kool-Aid. I drank
and
the
I'm
Peter
gonna hit
Dunn Kool-Aid.
Challenger. I'm drinking the CLG Kool-Aid, Jack, for the 3rd straight year. This time it's gonna pay off.
Why is that whole team's at
All
CLG?
right, Go ahead, Will.
I have drinking the CLG Kool-Aid for the past 2 seasons, and I have been wrong both times. But this year is the year of CLG. to make
3rd time's
playoffs.
the charm, huh?
This is the year I believe in CLG. This team that they've put together, what a masterpiece of average they've put together here, and that's what I love to see. This is the FlyQuest motto, and that's why it's gonna work. They put together a team of just players who are, yeah, I guess they're okay. You got the absolute wild card in Finn, who I think is actually the best piece of this team. I think he could. I think compared to a lot of the top talent this year, he could probably smurf on a couple of the lower
I think
teams. That's
Finn
why I
might
put
be
him
one
higher.
of the best. What might be the best player on this team, to be honest.
Yeah, but yeah,
I think people
he is.
people really underrated him because of Worlds.
But I think Brox is coming back for blood this
no,
year.
I think Brox
he's.
is bad still.
I think Brox. I think
disagree.
he's bad, but I think he wants redemption. It's a Brox and meta so far, at least. Yeah, I'm thinking. I think this team's gonna come back. Poe Belter, average. All these guys are pretty average players. I don't even know who their 80 carry is. I can't even
Wild
think.
Turtle.
Wild Turtle, even at more average. Oh, it just gets better and better. And Smoothie, that's the chef's kiss on top. This team is playing average.
Do you know who their coach is?
Song, right?
No, it's Moon.
Oh yeah. Well, Moon has a good track.
Yeah, Moon's
I
pretty
like
good.
Moon.
Moon's pretty good.
But he changed his name, so
Maybe
Yeah.
change it to Galen.
yeah, it's cringe. Yeah, he should have got Moon. Moon was good. Why would you change it? He had such a people knew him as Moon.
This happens all the time. Fucking Norscarin, change it to
Yeah.
Tor. Sheriff,
Yeah.
change it to Patrick. No, this
Yeah.
is Patrick. yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
but
sure.
That's
So
why I got
CLG.
CLG there, and then FlyQuest. I think FlyQuest just has. I think FlyQuest could easily go below EG. I think it really just depends how their pieces come together.
Yeah.
But I got a lot of faith in Johnson, and I've seen a lot of good stuff from Diamond and Palafox, at least in Academy. I think that this is just like this. This is a more extreme version of the Golden Guardians, where I just think they have such a high, ceiling level, a level of talent. So, and FlyQuest just seems to be a well-run org that seems to squeeze a lot out of their players and treat their players well. So I got faith in them.
Okay.
That's my mid rankings.
All right, sure. Yeah, seeing as we all put TSM 100 Thieves in the top 4, I guess we can start from the 5 through 7. So for me, I put CLG close to the bottom. And why? I think that Broxa is very bad to start off. I think that personally. I don't think he's going to be very impactful in either style, by the way. Broxa is known to be, at least when he was on Fnatic, right, when he was actually playing well in 2018, he was an early game player. He was kind of like Yankos, right? He's willing to take inefficient pathing to help his teammates, And I feel like that's first of all, that's counter to the meta for what junglers like typically do. But that's fine, right? If your team is good enough, you can still do that sometimes. I don't think his teammates are good enough to do that for. Um, so I really think he's fighting against the meta with a worse team, and I think that's going to mean that Brox is really going to struggle this year. Pobelter, I think he can hold up to top tier mid laners, but the problem is, other carries have to exist on his team. I don't think Wild Turtle and Smoothie are going to be some lane dominant winning team. We saw Wild Turtle play with Ignar last year, and a lot of that was Ignar being able to roam up and help PoE and Santorin, right? I think that Smoothie is going to have to do a lot of work in that aspect, doing similar things with Broxa Pobelter. But again, then you rely on Broxa in that instance. So I agree with you that Finn is probably one of the best parts of this team. So as the rest of the map explodes around him, Finn's Gimgoon out here trying to survive on dirt and worms, and I don't know. It to me, there's a lot of parts that seem a bit unfortunate. And a lot of these players could fit on different teams, but I feel like coming together, they're not going to be able to do too much. And that's, I could be wrong, right? I think talent-wise, they're actually not bad, but I think playstyle-wise, they're not going to.
I think they're just average enough to be good.
Yeah. So that brings to me why I put FlyQuest above them. I think FlyQuest has a bit more firepower. I am not very hot on Licorice. I do think he's, either his injury or mindset or something happened last year, right, to put him on the decline a bit. But I'm really putting a lot of faith in Jose Dioto and Palafox to be very good. Johnson, I don't think he's going to be like a super carry threat that they play around, but he's going to be a solid AD carry, as we've seen last year on Dig. I don't think he's going to be like the lane dominant carry or AD carry, but like I said, I'm pretty much putting a lot of faith in the fact that this team will have more firepower with Jose Dioto and Palafox, and potentially Licorice if his form is able to recover a bit. So I mean that's why I put FlyQuest above at CLG. Very volatile, like you said. They could end up lower, but I put a bit more faith there. With EG, I think that the main reason I have them above FlyQuest is similar logic, but I think their player talent is minus Deathly is higher than FlyQuest. I think that you're right. If they play one-dimensional with Jizuke as the only carry threat, they're not going to be able to beat better teams because that becomes too predictable. But I think, if you unlock Impact, right, and you have, what Peter Dunn said, which, I only believe like 50%, right? Obviously, like it's a bit exaggerated. Coaches have ideals, but they're not always going to be met. I do think, though, that if they even come close to that concept, they, in theory, should be around FlyQuest level, but have potentially better talents, unless FlyQuest like really surprises with the level Jose Dioto and Palafox have. I do think EG should be able to out-talent them in that sense. So that's why I put my order as CLG, FlyQuest, EG.
All right. For me, I have CLG at the bottom of that trio. One, as Jack and Will put it, they're kind of just average, right? I think their skill floor and skill ceiling, you can almost would be like on top of each other in my eyes. I think they're all solid players. I just don't think there's anything special about them, especially from what we saw from like Bratza and Smoothie. Smoothie especially. I think Smoothie is had a really disappointing season. I think Wild Turtle is an interesting component of that team. I think him and Finn are probably like the two shining points of that team. That's not to like push shit on Pobelter, but I think those two have the highest potential of carrying a game over POB. And then for EG, I was talking to Jack about this before the show, and I think my logic with EG is that they are a coin flip team, and I think because of that they won't have consistency, and because of that I think they'll play slower than FlyQuest, who I believe has potential to be a bit more consistent. Especially with Licorice at top. I do think it's very interesting how Licorice will play without being surrounded by superstars. But other than that, I think that's just my logic behind my three rankings, with FlyQuest at the top of that trio, EG middle, COG bottom.
Okay. So me and Michael both have it in the order of TSM third and 100 Thieves fourth. So I mean, Will, you're the outsider here. I actually think a lot of people have 100 Thieves third and TSM fourth. So I think in the general population, me and Michael are the outsiders in that sense. Yeah. So I guess we can start. So it's the reasons for me. I think I put TSM above 100 Thieves is I have a lot of faith in Spica being able to continue development under Bjergsen as a coach. I think Lost is very strong AD carry for weak side. Based on I did watch a bit of his academy play, not a lot, but a lot of it, like, it feels like he kind of he's expanded from the days. So on Echo Fox, right, he was actually really strong on one champion, and that was Varus. Specifically, if he got Varus, right, they would pretty much win, and Varus was not like giga meta in fall 2018, summer 2018, but. Honestly, like, if shit like Varus wasn't banned out, they would have crushed TSM that playoffs. Fuck you, Michael. But Varus was banned out. So sadly, people realized Lost was kind of like a Varus one trick. And I think
Crazy
now,
that works out.
Yeah, I think now Lost has been able to at least maintain or improve on that form, but with other champions in his pool. So I think ideally, right, you can at least become like a fourth place AD carry with that skill level, especially if your other teammates are good. And I do think the other teammates are good, right? I think PoE, very strong mid laner, especially in the meta we have right now, because even though you can, PoE doesn't have an insane amount of map mobility, right? But you don't have to play for side waves as much anymore. You're playing for Dragon Timer, and I think PoE's champion pool, Azir, Orianna, that shit, very good for the 5 minute. Okay, we farm, we fight, right? I think that's what made him very strong. And I think with better teammates around him, dear God, I think Huni will end last. So the only person on this team I actually don't have a lot of faith in is Sword Art. Obviously, I don't think Sword Art's an awful player. He clearly made it to World Finals, but I do think Sword Art, he had some weird engages, often in the LPL. Now, of course, LPL players fight a lot, right? So it's not like that's something that not all LPL players can do. It's just rather I don't know how much that's him, like, making poor decisions versus the team requesting that he has to be, like, a fighter for engaging.
The main engager.
Yeah, of course. And I think that he's had a long tenure, a long career, right? So it's not like his form is gonna, like, I don't think he's gonna be like, oh, he's gonna be exposed and he's gonna be shit, but I also don't think he's gonna be as insane as some people think he'll be. However, the rest of TSM, to me, will put them above. As far as 100 Thieves is concerned, this is actually one of my main points, is that I think a lot of people overrate 100 Thieves because they were the Golden Guardians last year with an upgrade in top lane. I'm sorry, Hanser, but it's just the way things are. I think that, to me, Golden Guardians last year might be a bit overrated in the sense that they were not like a top 3 team in the regular season, right? I don't even think they were, like 5th place in regular season?
Yeah, they were 5th place.
Yeah, so they weren't, like, extremely strong. Obviously they got better toward the end of the season, so it wasn't as though, like, they wouldn't have been 5th place if they were at the same skill level they were toward the end. But the first series that they won against TSM, it was against a much more weakened TSM. They clearly had a lot of issues. It was also when they were playing with what's his name, the other support player who's not Biofrost.
Treats.
Yeah, they were playing with Treats, who Treats I actually thought is a pretty good player, but his synergy with Doublelift didn't seem there, right? Then they go on to, so they sweep TSM actually, 3-0, very good. They go on to play against TL, they get murdered by that TL, right? And they go and face TSM again, and TSM comes back and reverse sweeps them. So I'm not saying that's not an accomplishment, by the way. I think they did a lot of good things, but I don't think that instantly makes them one of the best teams. And I think by the end of the split, you'll see that other teams can rise to that level or improve above it. And I think those teams, the top 2 teams plus TSM, right? I think Damonte. A lot of people think Damonte is a huge weak link on this team. I actually don't think so necessarily, right? Because I think in the current meta, mid lane doesn't have to be an insane, like, player anymore. We saw at Worlds, what kind of happened, and this point will expend more toward when I talk about Cloud9 and perks. But I don't think Damonte's weaknesses are going to be exposed as hard. I think FBI who here are very strong bot lane, and obviously Closer is one of the stronger junglers in the league, and now this is really like Sumday's test. Now he has a lot of good parts around him to see how good he is. But for me, it was just TSM slightly above 100 Thieves there.
All right. For me, TSM over 100 Thieves. 1, inherent bias. I'll be flat out honest about it, just inherent bias. 2, I guess for me, the biggest question mark I have about 100 Thieves is, I know, Jack, you kind of said that you're not worried about Damonte being exposed, but I am actually really worried about that still. If you watch the TSM GGS series, they still burnt all 5 bans on Bjergsen to try and protect Damonte, right? And granted, you can argue whether Beards and PoE is a better who's a better mid laner now, but can you say have that same issue like of just how much resource are you willing to burn to protect Demonte?
Well, I think though, if
drafts.
you look at the context of the league right now, who are the three mid laners who can expose Demonte the most? I would say it's Bjergsen, or not Bjergsen, sorry, Power of Evil, Jensen, Perks, which are the teams I put above him. I don't
Yeah.
think any of the other mid laners, Pobelter, Soligo, Jizuke, Insanity.
Well, that's
Great
what
Valor
I'm
Concept,
saying. Like that's why I
or,
put TSM
you know,
above them.
exactly. That's
Yeah.
so. In context of the league, I don't think any of the other
Yes.
mid laners could possibly expose Demonte. Other
But
than
in
the
context of top
three.
4.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
That and I do think Spica has much more room to be better than Closer, especially with the pieces around him. I think Spica Huni has potential to either be like one of the best top duos or one of the worst top duos. And I think that's to me one of the biggest things for TSM to try and gel together. I'm not that worried about bot lane. I do like the fact when they recruited Sword Art, one of the Sword Art's first thing he said is that I want to help this team be able to close out games early. So I honestly think TSM will start off really low in the first couple of weeks because I think they'll play way too aggressive and not know how to reel it in with Sword Art at the helm. But I think as they go through the weeks and progress, I think they'll be able to end up third place and like almost temper their steal against all their aggression.
Okay. So Will, why don't you go ahead with the 100 Thieves over TSM?
Oh, is he getting aggroed again?
Mr. William.
Nope, I'm here.
Alright.
Welcome back to Will says the same thing he's been saying for the past year. Are you ready? Alright.
Like
TSM, why they're fourth. This just happens to be because of, well, first before I say anything, my faith in this team is all around Big Bjerg as the coach. I think his player perspective is going to come in handy.
I know exactly what Will's gonna say.
I think
for the
him
last
knowing-
3 years, he talked about Huni.
I think Bjergsen playing last year, and he knows what drafts are like unplayable. I feel like a lot of coaches are like, this draft right here, perfect on paper, but like, then all these people come out and they're like, oh, this draft is horrible. Like, G2 is like one of the main teams that does that. Like, they're like, oh, this draft is ass, and we just had to like outplay. I feel like Bjergsen is going to be the MVP of this team if they start doing well. I put them only fourth because I believe in the talent, as the individual talent. I think this team coming together could easily be like Team Liquid of last year and just be horrendously bad. Because Jack knows what I'm gonna say, but it's just like
Holo
Froggen and
time.
Hootie again.
Holo
right?
time.
It's just like Froggen and Hootie. The power evil's better. You know, Hoonie week 1, he's gonna want Gnar. He's gonna be like, give me Gnar, baby. Spica's gonna want
Reaper has mental block
that-
against my
that
GP.
sweet Nidalee. He's gonna want the sweet Nidalee, and then PoE's gonna be like, give me Victor. And then their bot lane's gonna be like, oh wow, this is horrible. Like, we're good.
You know
all
what
the
I think will
research-
actually happen, Will? I think what will actually happen is Spica is going to get Nidalee, first pick on blue side, and then Huni's going to play a tank. He's going to play Ornn. I think that's what actually is going to happen.
I'm calling Hoonie plays Gnar.
I think Huni will play
Huni
Ornn.
plays
One.
DP.
I think Huni will play a
He's
tank.
playing
I think
Gnar one of
Huni
the
will play a
first 2
tank.
games, and PoE's playing like Victor.
I think we will see the return of SKT Huni.
But anyways,
He will flourish under Bjergsen.
but this is just like Froggen, where I knew that team wasn't gonna work because of the egos of the players. Like, they both want their specialty picks, and then they want their playstyles are just completely different. Froggen wants to just sit in his lane, and have PoE just wants to kind of just sit in his lane. He's not really a roam. He's not gonna play Akali. He's just gonna play his control mages, and then Huni's gonna just run it down, trying to do some dumb shit and carry, and then the bot lane is just Sword Art and Lost, and it's just like such a new combination to put together. Like, Lost isn't that experience, and Sword Art just like went to a World Finals. I think this team all relies on Daddy Bjergsen. I think this team is either gonna be Giga Boom and they're gonna be like top 3, or they're gonna be Busty Bust and they're gonna head down with EG towards the bottom of my list.
You
I
think they're
don't
going to
have
be...
faith.
So you just cut the difference and put them fourth?
Yeah, if you want my spicy take, I think Hongster enters midway through spring.
Isn't that
We were
what Michael
just
said?
talking about that.
Yeah, Michael
We were
literally
just-
told me that, is that he
Yeah.
thought that was the case.
Yeah, I think Hongster's eventually gonna come in because they can't handle a Huni and PoE team.
I didn't think
And
that
I
was the
think
case,
Sword Art
Jack.
also probably will have one of voice on the team as well.
I didn't think that was the case. Jack. I just said, what would you think if that was to happen?
Oh, okay.
Like,
See,
yeah.
I don't think
No,
it'll
I
happen.
think that's the case.
I
Doesn't
don't
have
think
to
it'll
be.
happen. I think this will be the return of SKT Huni. I think the crowd will chant Holo. Instead of TSM, TSM, TSM is going to be Holo, Holo, Holo.
Dude,
and they're
I
going to be
just want
screaming Huni's name.
I think Huni's delusional. I think Jack is also delusional.
no. But Will, I want TSM to win so much just for Huni interviews, dude. I just want Huni interviews.
I do love that.
I am best top
I will
laner.
be sad the day that Hootie leaves LCS. I will be very sad because as much as I think Hootie is like really bad
And
like,
mentally,
really,
like,
greedy, I think he's hilarious because he's just insane.
delusional.
It's like watching Trump. It's just entertaining, dude. It's comedic. The reason I put 100 Thieves above them, like, I do think that team that even though they didn't finish the split in like the top teams, I think that Golden Guardians team every week you saw them putting in the work, putting in like getting better. The bot lane was getting more and more like comfortable together, and this meta is like at least right now, currently, Demonte doesn't have to play. He can roam around with the jungler. He can play like Galio. He can play Orianna. He can like just play stuff that like
Galio is a
functions
good
around
pick right
helping his mid win because closer's Pog, and they just added Someday. And
Pog.
maybe this will be the year that Someday unlocks his potential, but it just feels like every year I rank everyone in the community seems to rank Someday so high, but I always just feel like realistically he's never really showed outside of the year they went to finals that he is like the carry or like the guy that's gonna like win you games. So maybe this year is the year that it happens because he can have put faith in his teammates to help him out. But I think this 100 Thieves team is just less egos, and they're all working. They all basically were all together implementing Someday. Someday just seemed like the hardest person to implement. He's played with multiple different rosters and basically given them the same performance every year in his career. So
Okay, sure. Why don't you guys go ahead and explain to me why Perks is the best player that God has ever created and Cloud9's the best team in the world?
I'll start it off. I got a quick, easy take for this.
Okay.
TL, I think, is hard. One, because they haven't had a time to really play together. They got a lot of visa issues right now, but I think TL has a lot of better pieces individually outside of Perks Jensen. I just think that C9 is gonna just quickly get it together before TL does. I think TL has like historically always had a hard time getting it together in spring. Even the like the first year the team was
2018
together, they
and
only
2019.
finished like sixth, right, or sixth or
Yep.
whatever it was.
They were in the lower ends of the bracket. They were
Yeah.
either fourth or like fifth or something.
They generally struggle in spring to quickly like get it together, but maybe not. They have a new coaching staff, but they just have a lot of pieces coming in that I feel like haven't had a lot of time to like play with one another. There's a whole new jungler with Jensen, and the bot lane will be fine. And then Alfari, like it's not gonna be the reason that they're two is obviously they're gonna be able to put it together. I just think C9 already has like shown decent chemistry, and they've already been scrimming and playing together. They know Mithy knows like Sven and Perks, and Perks knows Sven. And
Mithy.
I think this team's gonna just do good enough to beat out TL in the spring. Summer, we'll see. We'll get there when we get there.
Okay. Michael.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same train with Will on this one, and I think that C9 will come out of the gates stronger than TL, and I think even by like midway through, they'll have enough of a buffer room between them and TL that it would like even if TL catches like surges towards the end of the second round robin, C9 already has too much of a lead for them to like lose first. If that makes sense. Going on to the like strength of rosters, I do think TL has a higher skill ceiling. So I think Santorin over Blabber, and Perks over Jensen has a bigger gap versus Alfari and Alfari Fudge. And that is a very, very hot take, and I understand that. But I don't think like Fudge is gonna be like run over by majority of the LCS top laners. So I don't know. I think on paper, just C9 becomes stronger quicker and reaches their peak faster than TL does.
All right. So, first point. I think Alphari will destroy every top laner in NA outside of... depends on how junglers play around, like Someday, Impact, and Huni. But I think he will murder Revenge. He will destroy Fake God.
Who do you put in there?
He will destroy Niles. He will destroy Licorice. He will destroy Fudge. He will destroy Finn. He will destroy Huni if Huni decides to int. And then he probably won't destroy Impact in Someday, but, you know, we'll see. It depends how Svenskeren and Closer play around them. But, dude, I just think Alphari, the fact that he was fucking 10th place on fucking Origin and still was just... I thought he was just beating other top laners just in lane. I think Alphari's insane. I think he's probably better than Impact in Someday, at least in my, you know, personal opinion. But anyhow, Santorin. I think Santorin, in isolation, is probably the strongest jungler in the league. But it depends, right? I don't think Santorin will be like. Okay, so here's the thing, right? Like, I do think one advantage that C9, 100 Thieves, and TSM all have is that I think Spica, Blabber, and Closer might be better Nidalee players than Santorin. So as smart as I think Santorin...
Are they better Trundle players?
Yeah, so I was going to say in NA, right? You know, I think Santorin will diff most of the junglers. I will say, though, there is the potential that, you know, his champions pool, despite being a very smart player, he's not going to be able to, like, carry as hard. Tactical, like... Yeah, I think Sven's better than Tactical, but, you know, we look at, you know, bot lane as a package, and I think Core JJ Tactical will be more useful throughout the course of the game than Sven and Vulcan. All right, now, finally, here's the big truth, guys. I do not think the gap that Perkz will elicit in the assholes of every mid laner is going to be as large as you think. Well, it'll be pretty large for everyone, except for Power of Evil and Jensen. The reason for this is that... listen, like, I think Perkz is a great mid laner, right? But the thing is, I feel like people have vastly overplayed his strength as a mid laner, just in terms of laning, right? You know, obviously he has other qualities, and we can discuss that, but just in terms of mid lane capability, people act like he was like close to Caps level, which I very highly disagree with. Looking at a lot of his international accolades. You know, for example, like the best of 5 series against RNG, like murdering Xiaohu, like we've seen other mid laners do that. We've seen Bjergsen do that. You know, we've seen other NA mid laners be able to match Xiaohu's performance internationally. You know, he's not been a great international mid laner. Aside from 2018, like that was pretty much one of his only international performances that was good. Every other time before that, it was like kind of, you know, not great, I would say. 2017 MSI, he was okay, but you know, 2017 Worlds, he was put in groups against like some very good, very strong opponents, and he wasn't able to match up with them. I think that compared those accolades with you know, mid laners like Jensen and PoE, I don't think it shows that it's like a Caps level where in lane he's going to diff them, you know, extremely hard. I think where Perkz' advantage comes from isn't just that he's a better laner. It's going to be, like you guys said, you know, you think Cloud9 is going to come out of the gates very strong because of their synergy. I think Perkz does bring that, right? I think that's a lot of the reason why G2 are able to do the things they did. However, I will say that those were kind of stripped from him in 2020, right? A lot of the way the meta has worked has kind of been against what Perkz is good at. Perkz' ability to be creative around sideways and, you know, pressure opponents in ways that challenges decision making is not been able to exploit as many wins, you know, in 2020 as it would have back in 2019. We saw a vast difference in how G2 was able to play, right? Because in 2020, you know, you're playing around these 5-minute intervals that you're pretty much going to know what the plan is, right? You can't ask a question and, you know, have as many wrong answers anymore. You don't get as many chances to ask questions, right? Because it's very clear, like, okay, I don't get to choose the question. The game kind of puts in front of me that it's going to do this thing. So it actually dampens, in my opinion, a lot of Perkz' strength is what he would have over, you know, some of the other mid laners. So while I think Perkz is a great mid laner, and while I think that he'll be able to gate most of the mid laners in NA, I don't think the individual gap in lane will be as strong as against, like, for example, Jensen and PoE. And I don't think a lot of the ways that he's able to shot call and lead a team will be as strong within the game itself. I think he'll be able to help keep mental. He'll help be a good leader, but I don't think that will necessarily lead to wins off of strategy, but more so keeping mental good and over the course of like a series, you know. So yeah, that's my take for TL being number 1 over C9. All right, there ends the standings, I suppose, and we shall see who comes out on top. But enough about standings.
What's the bet? What am I gonna win?
Okay.
We're doing a bet.
We don't have to do a bet. That's up to you.
Well, I know I'm gonna crush it this year, dude.
Okay. What do you want? What do you want to bet? What do you want to bet, Will? What do you want?
We'll come back next episode.
Well, the problem is next episode, we'll see the
Lock-in
lock-in tournament, and that'll bias, what you're willing to bet. So if you want to make a bet, you got to make it now before we're biased by watching gameplay in NA.
Okay,
How about playing with Cannon and ranked on Siege?
I don't like relying on someone else to have to make a bet. That's what we did last time. It didn't really work out.
True. We can do the same thing we did last time, Will, where it's like I remember it was like I had to coach 5 games of Cannon versus you had to play 5 games of Cannon on your mains. Yeah, that was a pretty good one.
Yeah,
Cannon said he'd be down for both. He said, remember, he was pretty excited for it, and then when we tied, he was like kind of sad.
Oh no.
I'll do it with Cannon. Here, how about if I lose, I'll do and record some games with Cannon. Hopefully, he'll play.
Okay.
But I'm not playing with him on my main.
So if you have the lowest amount of points, so these are going to be light bets. So lowest points.
Yeah,
Will.
I can't think of any spicy bets.
Duo with Cannon.
If I
Not
lose,
on main.
If I lose, I'll get a CLG jersey.
Oh.
Lowest points, you'll get a CLG jersey. That's a pretty high ante.
Dude, I don't even think I have enough money to support myself to do that.
So how are we gonna equalize the ante, Michael?
Dude, I don't even know if I have.
So what do you want from me, Will, if I lose then? What do you want from me?
What can I make you get? What's a team that you don't like?
I don't want to buy a jersey, as the thing.
Oh,
I'm not willing to put up buying a jersey. Jerseys are lame as hell.
God damn it. Then I guess we'll take the jersey thing off. 'Cause
Okay.
That would have been fucking sick, dude. I'm gonna make you guys both get revenge jerseys.
Yeah, you get an optic jersey, you fucking idiot.
Yeah, at least I was willing to put up a good bet.
Yeah.
Dude, no,
We
it was
don't
a
we
good
don't
bet, I
we
just
don't
have
ha-
the money.
we don't have to do bets. Like I said, it doesn't have to be this way, Will.
Yeah, but
we
let's
could
make it fun.
we could just be some
Yeah.
friends who enjoy talking about a game together.
How about lowest points for Jack? He has to play Siege with us.
We tried that before.
Yeah, but like
You have to play. You gotta play your 10 ranked games
On what?
on Siege.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
God, so you suck at bets. That's the worst part.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not willing
That's
to
what
put
I'm
up
saying.
money or time, so it's just
Exactly.
impossible.
I'm only willing to put up meager effort. I'm not
how
willing to
about
put in time
if you
and
get
money.
lowest points, you can't sacrifice Will.
Wait, what do you mean? I can't sacrifice Will? You mean I can't
if
just
you-
leave a game and like
Yeah,
gaslight him into playing?
yeah.
For how long? And what do you define as like, because sometimes I just leave and it's like not like I go do other stuff,
Yeah.
So like
Just like go to bed or something already.
right. So
I don't think we're gonna find a bet that's gonna work for you.
yeah.
No, I don't think so.
We'll just be friends, I guess.
Okay, we'll just be friends and
Jack's
enjoy it.
lame.
Sure. I don't care. Anyhow. All right, on to what I wanted to talk to next was the lock-in tournament. So the groups for the lock-in tournament are 100
Let me
Thieves.
pull that up.
So Group A is 100 Thieves, CLG, GG, TL, TSM. Group B, C9, DIG, EG, FlyQuest, Immortals. I think in group stage, Group A is definitely the stronger group.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, I think Group B has fucking Immortals and DIG in it, and then potentially FlyQuest, EG. Either of them could flop, right? So what I'm thinking is the team that drops out of Group B is obviously going to be DIG or IMT. I will take IMT out. They were lower on my power rankings. You guys probably say DIG. Group A, the team that drops out is GGS. I think we all probably agree on that, right?
Yes.
Okay. I think order-wise, Group A, it's kind of interesting, right? Because I don't necessarily want to just say TL number one because since this is very fresh, right? It's 100 Thieves coming off of their stint as GGS, um, and TSM is like almost a completely new team. So I almost want to say it could be like 100 Thieves, TL, TSM, CLG. You know?
Yeah, that's actually what I was gonna say.
Yeah. Group B, I would say the same thing is like that's why I put EG above FlyQuest as their team. Even if you think by the end of the season FlyQuest will be better, EG's team just has more consistent parts that like have been together. So it would probably be like C9, EG, FlyQuest, and then your pick of the other two.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That seems reasonable enough to me.
So who do you guys think will win then the whole lock-in tournament?
Okay, I'm looking at the seeding right now, or like how seeds would work out. My money is either on. I honestly okay. I think it's be Cloud9. I think Cloud9 usually meshes well together off the bat. I think Cloud9 takes it all. I think Cloud9 will only drop 2 matches. The entire tournament.
In group stage?
In group stage. Not even group stage. Like, I think the entire tournament.
Okay. I am personally between TL and 100 Thieves.
Really?
And, yeah, but I'm not too certain who I would take in that sense. Yeah.
Is there a losers bracket? No,
No,
isn't.
they're not.
Oh.
You know what? I will. I'll stick with my heart. TL. I'll say TL wins it. I'll say TL wins it all.
Okay, fair enough.
If they have Santorin, of course, because I don't know if Santorin has visa issues right now. I know Alfari arrived.
He won't be there.
Oh, okay, no, never mind. Shit.
He won't be there for the first week of the tournament. They said. That's why I don't have faith in them.
Yeah, I don't have faith in them.
That's why I think it's gonna be 100 Thieves from C9.
Okay, I take CLG
C9
then.
is gonna smurf.
I'll take CLG. They have everyone, right? CLG has everyone.
Nope.
Who do they not have?
They won't have Broxo or Finn.
No. That's CLG. I was saying C9. Who does C9?
C9 has everyone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Okay, I take C9 then. I say
I thought you
C9
said
wins.
CLG. I was like CLG. That's why I'm not. That's why I was thinking before we started because I didn't know the tournament wasn't part of the season. And I was like, CLG's not gonna have for the first week. They're not gonna have Broxo or Finn, and they're playing Dig and GGS. So I was like, they really need them to win.
But they get solo though.
Oh yeah, they have Solo. They don't even have an academy team yet. They only have 2 players. They have Solo and the guy they drafted from
Keel.
Oh.
Keel. Keel is the name of a disgusting dude from Eva. But anyways, okay, so we're pretty much all saying C9, right?
Yeah. It's a lame take, but it's gonna be them or 100 Thieves.
Okay.
I think it's just the teams that have the most time together have the best chance.
Yeah.
All right. So the other thing I was gonna say, that's pretty much what we have to say for the LCS part of it. The other thing I want to talk about is that like I want to make some predictions so this is gonna be a bit more difficult, like Michael, because he hasn't played the game as much, but like I want to predict like things that are just gonna get gutted because of pro play and champions and items basically. On my laundry list, I think. So Riot already confirmed they're nerfing like Gale Force and like they're adjusting.
I was about to say
Aatrox
Gale
book.
Force from what I've seen.
I think Aatrox is gonna get nerfed again because what they did, where they nerfed the Gore Drinker healing for him, pretty much is the equivalent of what they did. They kept everything else similar. They just made it so he wouldn't gain as much off like a Gore Drinker in the middle of a team fight. I still think they're gonna nerf Aatrox again because I think the reason he gets picked is because he's very blindable, and in order for teams to be able to counterpick against them, they need like a really good carry top laner, like a Camille, a Fiora, an Aurelia, etc. And you need a lot of team synergy to play around that. So I think Aatrox is going to get hit again. I think so. The Gale Force nerf confirmed was like 30 seconds on the cooldowns to 90 seconds. I think that's going to continue getting nerfed because that cooldown, even though it is a pretty like 30 seconds is a lot of time. Don't get me wrong. So it is a pretty big window of punishment. You don't necessarily have to fight though in those windows, right? Those windows are created when you do dumb things or you take aggressive fights. If you don't do that because you know that you can create a window of vulnerability and there's not a dragon up to fight over, then I just don't see it as a significant nerf to what the item accomplishes for an AD carry, right? So I think those two, definitely. I think Camille's gonna get hit too because for a fucking carry top laner that can like be as good lane as she is pretty insane. So. Those are some of my picks for shit that I think is just going to get whacked out of pro play. Also, Yone, because he's pretty much been banned out a shit ton thus far in LPL. So
Is
I
it
think
Gale Force Yone the build right now?
I have no idea.
I was
So
just
few
watching
people like to
LL.
build BT, but Gale Force is a really good item, so no clue. What about you, Will? What do you think?
Items are real crazy this season. I think Gale Force is broken. Currently, uh, Gorjinger's pretty broken. Night Harvest is pretty broken. Lich Bane's pretty broken.
I don't think Night Harvester would get nerfed because of pro play. I think if anything, Proto Belt would, because I don't think pro
Yeah.
players use Night Harvester as much.
I think Night Harvest depends.
Is that me lagging or is that Will? Ah, shit, that's me.
The amount of damage you do is so crazy, but I feel like in pro play it's harder to pull off.
Yeah, I
Night
think
Harvester, Lich Bane stuff.
yeah, I think Proto Belt and
Other than
Zonias
that,
are
I think
better than pro play.
Riftmaker's pretty decent on some champs. But other than that, don't know. Gale Force.
Sorry, my Discord's being laggy as hell. What'd you say about Gale Force?
Oh, I just think that's like the main one that's good.
Okay. What about champion wise?
Huh?
What about champions thus far in pro play? Because I think like
A lot of it's
Kaisa, like
hard
the 80
because
carries
I
are hard to
don't
pin
know,
down because like
they're probably not
items.
going to go back on their items, right? So
Yeah.
the champions will probably be nerfed. Because inherently, I don't think a lot of the champs are broken per se. I just think the items they run are pretty broken. I think Seraphine will probably get nerfed once LCS players get a hold of that support. Yone's pretty nuts too.
I would add Nidalee to that list because
Lily's pretty good.
off
Lily's
kilter,
pretty
like
good.
the other carry champions that get banned out, that means Nidalee always ends up available on blue side first pick.
Lily is really good too. Vi won't get banned because of pro play, but she's fucking crazy. That champ's crack.
Yeah, the thing that makes me sad is I don't think Ivern will be banned for pro play, so she's gonna be like an Elo
Yeah.
inflator like Nunu for
Ivern's
probably a
really good
really
as
long
well.
time. I think he's just gonna be a huge Elo inflator, which is very unfortunate. Riot probably won't touch him.
Gragas might get nerfed. He keeps getting played top. But yeah, I think NA is more of a Hecarim region than that we are like an Italy or
Seraphine
we're a
Hecarim
Hecarim
region.
Olaf region.
Trundle.
Yeah.
Trundle baby.
Yeah, Pantheon too. We'll probably play some. I don't know. That's not so much.
Isn't Pantheon like very oppressive right now, from what I
Yeah,
understand?
pretty good. He's also a triple flex. So you can play him support.
He's gonna get nerfed then. That means triple flexes. Riot always
or mid. You can
really
play
hate how
mid, top,
blindable he is.
jungle, support. You can play him every role.
Riot does not like when champions are that blindable.
Nope.
That's why
Yeah.
they kept trying to nerf Set and they wouldn't commit to
They
like.
upped his damage
murdering
because
him.
they wanted to bring him back to solo lanes, but then it just inherently makes him better at other stuff. I think some champs, it's like doing stuff like that. Like Lucian's one of the biggest offenders of this, where it's like,
Mid top ADC kind of thing.
yeah, he's gonna keep going like they're gonna keep putting him mid or top and stuff like that, unless they literally like make it something in like the code that means like they do like less damage. Like if you're not in the bot lane, like you know, how, like the
For-
towers have like
Yeah.
the damage thing. But I don't think they're gonna do that. So I don't know what they're gonna like. I think inherently these champs are either gonna be like weak to the point of they're not gonna see play, or Lucian's gonna get buffed to the point where he's like insanely good in solo lanes, like he is now, or how he was, and then he's never gonna go bot again.
Yeah,
I just
I
think
mean-
Lucian's too hard to go bot again ever again. It's like Triss.
Yeah, I mean
It's really
champions
hard
like
to go bot.
Lucian, Triss, like these high burst champions that like are also ranged, pretty much fit exactly what you need in mid and top lane, and aren't as good in bot lane because you can't do that against 2v2 lanes, you know. So it's very challenging as a design, like from a design standpoint. All right, well, I mean that's pretty much mostly what I wanted to speak on before, because like I said, I didn't want to go into too much depth about like a player by player rating, because I realized I hadn't seen just way too many of these players, and that's something I would do before summer, not really before spring. Yeah, I mean, is there anything else you guys wanted to bring up? I suppose.
Nothing really. I'm just excited to have esports again, honestly. There's
Okay.
I actually have something to watch.
True. What about you, Mr. Will?
What'd you say again? Sorry.
You had anything else you wanted to say?
I'm gonna win these power rankings. I'm gonna crush it. CLG's gonna do good this year.
Hmm.
I've lost teams to root for, so I'll set the make teams to root for, like CLG.
What do you mean you lost teams to root for?
Dragon X is dead. Immortals has a terrible roster.
Hanwha
got
Life
rid of
though,
all the
baby.
players I liked.
Hanwha Life.
After watching last night, dude, that Vista guy, holy, you telling me you couldn't find a better support?
No,
That
they
was-
they called Kevin up.
the-
It's like, hello,
Dude,
Kevin, we need you
I've
back in
literally
Korea.
seen Kevin make that play, that flash rel engage. Oh my god, that dude! I literally saw that from a pro player. I was like, oh my god, there's hope. There's hope I can be pro.
There's hope. You mean there's hope Kevin can go pro? That wasn't you, baby.
Yeah. Did you see the meme that Soaz is the coach of LDLC and Ica rejoined that team?
Ew.
Cack.
Ugh, gross.
God, Ica is. I'm not a fan. To say
Hey,
the least.
just think of it that when you put Dig above Golden Guardians, that Saligo was better than Ica. Just let that one sink in.
I do think Saligo's better than Ica.
I mean, Ica was better than Saligo. Sorry.
I think Saligo will be better than Ica. I think you will see. I think you will see the.
They're gonna all be
Error
playing
of
2
your
saves,
ways.
and Dardark's gonna die.
No.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong at that one.
Well,
And Darda
yeah.
dying at least.
I think Anero's just gonna tell Dig. If he can just get all the Golden Guardians people to just,
Ape
just
out.
send it. They have like no pressure on them. There's literally like zero pressure, unless they're scared of getting flamed by the community. Which who cares? You guys are already gonna be like, everyone has you 10th. What are they gonna flame you for being bad? Everyone knows you bad. They're going right from collegiate to pro. Just send it, baby. Beat Dig. It's gonna be Pog. That's all I gotta say.
Okay, well, I guess that's gonna wrap it up for this preliminary
Unless,
episode.
one more thing. If your
Okay.
Immortal social media team, hit me up. If your Dignitas's social management team, hit me up. I got a plan.
You know,
I
I added you on Twitter because FlyQuest is looking for social media.
Yeah, no. Their brand's too good. You know, they already got stuff. I need Dig. I got a great plan for Dig, and I got a great plan for Immortals. And by my great plan for Immortals, I mean just fire whoever they have now. That's my great plan. Dig, I actually have a good plan for.
Okay. All right. Well, that's gonna wrap things up.